cloud, even like artificial intelligence, dialog flow, conversational UIs, all the things that I'm really passionate about. And last but not least, you can follow me on Twitter at Dear Coders. That's the handle. So yeah, feel free to follow me. You can ping me, send me a message, and I'm here for you guys. Again, if you're here, is because this session, this very hands-on session, is about Flutter. Flutter is that Google's open source UI toolkit for developing and building native UIs and native experiences with one single code base using Dart. So Dart is the language, Flutter is the framework, and you can target multiple platforms. You can target Android, iOS, web, desktop. You can tap even into embedded. So you couldn't have joined this effort of, like, let's say, tackling Flutter or learning Flutter. It couldn't have been a better time, because it's such there's so much momentum around it, a lot of enthusiasm in the community, and a lot of support. So if you want to do Flutter and you want to just one single code base, tackle all these platforms, this is the best way to do it. I want to make this session very interactive. This is not going to be like, again, moving forward, you're not going to see like these talks where the person just talks, you guys just sit on the other side of the screen falling asleep. No, we're going to make this very interactive. So I want you to join me at slido.com. You can even open like another tab on your browser. I want to make this very interactive. I want to make this very engaging. I want to make you part of the experience, make you part of this conversation and this session. So please join me at slido.com with the code 491853. Slido.com with the code 491853. We're going to do a couple of interactive questions. We're going to do some word clouds, and then we're going to immediately jump into the codelabs. Again, this is the whole part of the experience that I want to make it very engaging and everybody being part of this. So I'm just going to give you a few more seconds. And again, I'm just going to say, we're going to do a couple of ice-breaking questions. I want to see where you are. I want to see what kind of the level of expertise that you have, and then we're going to jump right into the codelabs, which we're going to be providing in just a minute as well. So the first question, and again, you can see it on the left-hand side. You can even scan that QR code. You can even keep this on your browser, on your laptop or your computer, wherever you're joining. You can grab your phone and scan that QR code, and you join this session from your phone as well. I'm going to make it easy for you. And we already see people joining the session. So first question, from 1 through 5, what's your level of coding expertise? It doesn't have to be Flutter. You may have just joined this session because you want to learn Flutter, but how about overall? What is your coding expertise? Whether you do backend, you do Python, you do Ruby, you do Angular, web, mobile, desktop. What's your level of coding expertise? I want to see where the audience is. I want to see where you guys are, in your careers, so that we can also tailor the experience and the interactions that we have. So I'm glad that we see a very, mix of beginning but a little bit more of the coding expertise, more of the experts, mid-level, more senior, let's say, as far as expertise. I'm glad. Then that way I will tailor my explanations, and I don't have to go so higher level. Maybe I can even go lower level on some things. So I'm really glad that you guys are sharing this information with me. I'm so glad that you guys are part of this. Let's go to the next one. How about, what is your IDE or code editor of choice? Like, what's the type of tool that you use for coding that makes it very, makes you very productive? Of course, Visual Studio Code comes up because, VS Code, of course. Of course, without being biased, I am also a VS Code person. I remember back in the day when I used to develop mobile applications for the 3 different platforms. I used to do Android. I used to have Android Studio for, let's say, I would develop iOS applications. I would do Objective-C and Xcode, but then I would do like Windows Phone, and I would have Microsoft Visual Studio. So I would have the full version of Visual Studio, Xcode, and Android Studio. So I would have 3 IDEs running in parallel, sucking all the memory and the power out of my computer. But again, thanks to Flutter, now I only do one single editor, one single code base, and I target all those frameworks and all the platforms. So thank you very much for sharing. Oh, Sublime Text. I love Sublime. and even people say not Vim. Yeah, I do. I've actually done Vim. I've done Flutter in Vim. Believe it or not, I've even done it in the command line just to just to mess with people. But no, I love the fact that you guys are sharing. IntelliJ is a really good one as well. So I'm glad that everybody uses different editors. Is whatever makes you productive, pretty much at the end of the day. Great. So, how about more like an intimate personal question? After work, what do you do? Do you work on a side project, or you just relax, forget about coding? You binge watch a movie on Netflix. The next Squid Game or whatever the latest stuff is. Me myself, I do actually like a mixture of both. I love spending time with family, relaxing, but I always try to stay abreast of the latest and greatest in technologies. I also engage in side projects because that kind of gets my juices flowing. It kind of also makes me tackle other things separate from my day job, and then even I can come up with the next startup or something like that, or the next cool project. I'm glad that I'm at my job. They do support that they give me that balance, so I could even involve in side things and even events like this, of course. So I'm glad that also I share the same thing with a lot of people. You do a little bit of both. That's a good way to do it. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, guys. Again, you guys are amazing. I love the fact that everybody's participating. Great. So I'm gonna be doing a quiz, but it's like a short quiz. Again, just to see where you guys are as far as like this, like your trivia knowledge as far as apps. So think about this one. Which was the most downloaded app last year in 2021? Was it WhatsApp? Was it TikTok? Or was it Messenger? So which one do you think was the most downloaded app? A lot of people, they're torn between WhatsApp and TikTok. That's awesome. Let's see which one is the correct one. TikTok. So yes, of course. I mean, because of the pandemic, that's what drove TikTok to the roof. Exactly. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun always to know about these trivia things. How about this one? Now more related to Flutter. Which one of the following well-known applications were developed in Flutter? This and you can actually choose more than one because there are more than one within this list. I work for Philips. In the medical field. I do develop Flutter applications as well, and I see how the big players have embraced Flutter as like their default toolkit for developing applications for multiple platforms. So a lot of people are all over the place as far as like all the applications. I think maybe some of you already know that it's actually all of them. So you see, eBay, BMW, all these big players have bet a lot just by embracing Flutter as their default framework for developing applications targeting multiple platforms and multiple devices. So this is amazing. So you see, Flutter is not just like a prototyping tool or like a hello world type of framework. No, it's a big player. Big players use it. It's ready for production, and you can use this in your applications right now. So why, if other people like huge players, huge companies like this embrace it, why not you? Great, awesome. So now after we've done a little bit of ice breaking exercise, now let's see how we can participate in this Flutter workshop. So this will be very hands on. We're going to be coding. You're going to be following along. That is option number one. So option number one, you're going to be following along to the coding that I'll be doing, and I'm going to be dropping these two links in the chat. So we're going to have two codelabs, and I'm going to show you how to do it. So the first thing is you're going to go to dartpad.dev. Dartpad.dev is a web-based IDE. It's kind of like it's web-based where you can actually code in Flutter. No installation required. Immediately, you're going to get right into learning Flutter as opposed to spending hours installing all the toolkits and installing all the underlying dependencies. We're going to immediately jump into dartpad.dev and start coding in Flutter. So you go to dartpad.dev, you're going to open it up. For example, I'm going to go in a minute and show you that. I'm also going to be dropping the links of the two code labs that we're going to be working on tonight. So this is code lab number one and then code lab number two. These code labs were custom created for you. These are not from Google. I actually custom tailored these code labs in order to maximize the learning of Flutter. because of the way that I've developed these applications. I also model that way, the way that I even process it and how to develop it. And then I've compiled it into these amazing code labs, very easy to follow, so that you could also learn the same way. And again, I'm not selling it. This is just for free. I just created it just for you. I sounded like I was selling it, but again, this is just for your learning experience. You can even use it in your own, let's say, workshops and whatnot. So it's completely free. Now, the second way that you can join this workshop, you're gonna have a lot of fun on this one. So the second one is what I'm calling coding roulette. There is a specific, and you guys can actually use it with your friends or with your colleagues. There is a plugin in Visual Studio Code called Lifeshare. So Lifeshare is a plugin that allows people to connect remotely to my Visual Studio Code session using just the web. Like, you don't have to install anything. You can just open a new browser tab and you can connect to my Visual Studio session. So what I can do is actually, if I see people connecting to my session, I'm gonna pick you out of like at random, and then I can make you, I can have you come up and code along with me if you want to. Again, it's totally optional. If you have stage fright, you don't have to do it. But I like to have that kind of engaging experiences with people, so that you could also learn and also help me out. So again, this is optional, but I'm gonna show you how it works. But let's proceed in cranking up DartPad.dev and starting with code lab number 1. Then I'm going to show you later on how the live share works, and then how we can make this very, very engaging. Just some guidelines just to make sure that we cover those. So make sure that we're be nice. We're part of the same community. I love that GDG Cincinnati and GDG Lawrence, we're partnering, even though we're far apart, but at least we like to collaborate on events like this. So let's be respectful. Let's be constructive. Please drop any questions if you have, and I'll be able to get those as soon as I can. Try to participate and join, because this is exactly what it is. This is a community event. We want to learn together. We want to collaborate. And let's try to keep a basic etiquette as far as like the online discussions and whatnot. Let's keep them focused to the event. And let's all collaborate, because this is what we're here for. We're here to have fun. We're here to learn. So I hope that everybody contributes to this effort. And that's it. Now let's start. Open DartPad.dev. I'm gonna get out of this presentation right now so I can show you how that works. I'm gonna escape, and then I am going to open up another tab, and I'll probably zoom in a little bit. But what you will do is actually go to DartPad.dev. I just dropped the link on the chat, and then you will find this IDE. I can zoom in, and then you can see like the code a little bit more. But this is DartPad. DartPad is a free web-based IDE that you can come in and you can play. It's kind of like a little playground for you to learn how to develop in Flutter. You don't have to install anything. Just go to DartPad.dev and then you can start coding. Now let's go to the first code lab, the first link that I dropped there, the one that says the one that is hosted on GitHub. So github.io/Flutter Code Lab CR1-1. So the first link that I dropped in there, I'm gonna copy it in another tab. And then I'm going to drop the code lab right there. So if I zoom in also here, you will see that this is a code lab about an application that has 3 pages. So we're gonna, if you want to continue, you can follow along. You can have this code lab in one tab, or you can have it on another screen if you have 2 screens, and then you have DartPad, and then you're gonna follow along. During this workshop, we're gonna try to complete labs 1 and 2. But I've also have, but this code lab in its entirety is actually 4 code labs. So you can, even if you feel adventurous and if you want to go on your own, you want to continue, you can complete the first 2 code labs. Then you can go to code lab 3 and 4. You just change the URL from 1 and 2 to 3 and 4, and those are the additional 2 ones. We may not be able to cover those tonight, but I will invite you to do that on your own and try that, and try the 4, and then you complete the whole application. But at least in this workshop, we're going to be doing a simple 3-page Flutter application, which I'm calling a paradise. It's just like a touristic application. We're going to be learning how to build Flutter interfaces. We're going to be learning about Flutter layout strategies using the core widgets, creating custom widgets. You're going to be learning how to do custom widgets, and you can achieve widget composition. You're going to learn about all those concepts. Also, we're going to be learning Dart at the same time that we're learning Flutter and we are building a Flutter application. You're going to be learning Dart because it's a very intuitive programming language. Also, we're going to be learning about importing network images and also using like material icon fonts. So all those things are covered in those 4 code labs, but we're only going to be touching the first 2. Again, like I said, I invite you to pursue the other 2 if you want to. Okay? Is everybody ready? Does anybody have any questions before we proceed? Because at least I think I've covered a lot so far, but we haven't started yet. Just wanted to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Everybody has the links that they need. You have DartPad open on one tab. Again, dartpad.dev. Again, you can use it outside of this session. You can use it on your own. You can play with this in your own computers, in your own systems. And of course, you should have the link to the first code lab, which is the Flutter Codelab CR1-1. Perfect. I just needed a couple of thumbs up. Thank you, Connor. Thank you for that confirmation. Now let's proceed. So the first thing that we're going to do is going to go to the first step. So this is an overview of what the application is all about. So it's a 3-page application that we're going to be developing right on our browser using DartPad. So that's all it is. I just explained what that is. So let's go to the next step. So next step takes you to the prerequisites. Again, like I said, the prerequisites are just having a browser, a stable network connection, and then we're going to be using DartPad like we mentioned. The Lifeshare stuff, I'm going to share it in a minute. I just wanted to start at least with the first code lab, and then we can do a little bit of sharing. The next step, step number 3, I hope I'm not going too fast, but step number 3 is launching DartPad. So these steps show you how to launch DartPad for the first time. If this is your first time launching it, again, going to a new tab, typing dartpad.dev, and then immediately you get like a little bit of a boilerplate code. But if you want to start from scratch, you actually find the button here at the top left corner where it says New Pad. I can zoom in a little more, and then you see here on the top left next to the DartPad logo, it says New Pad. So you click here and you say, yes, create a new pad, discard the changes, yes, click OK. Now you get the option whether you are going to be coding in Dart or you're going to be doing Flutter. You can do Dart if you want, but our focus is Flutter. So make sure that you select Flutter, that is selected. Then you click Create. And then that's it. There is a new pad created. So right here, there is what they call a pad. Just the new pad, but this is specifically for Flutter. And if you see here, it already gives you some boilerplate code that you can immediately start running just to see what you get as output. Like this is just like sample code. The way to run this is every time that you do some changes on the left-hand side panel, you can hit on this run button. If you click here in the run button, you will see here the preview or the output of what it is that you're coding. In this case, the first thing that you get as a boilerplate is just a hello world. Now we're going to continue with the code lab because that's pretty much exactly what I covered on step 3. See, I go and I create a new pad. I select Flutter, I click create, and then I get a hello world. Perfect. So if you're here, I hope that everybody is at that step where you have a brand new DartPad that says hello world. So then we should be good to proceed to the next step. So I'm going to assume that everybody is good with DartPad. You have your code lab, and now we're going to proceed to the next step. Perfect. So now the initial setup, it tells you what is the page that we're going to be tackling. So in Flutter, everything is a widget. Just keep that in mind. Everything in Flutter is a widget. So we're going to be creating the first page of this application, which is a splash screen. Pages, buttons, images, everything is a widget. It's just how big you make it or how you compose it. But everything in Flutter, whether even the application itself is a widget. So just keep that in mind that everything in Flutter is a widget. So the first thing that we're going to be tackling is the splash screen. Here I show you like schematics on how we're going to be building it and what it is composed of. So this is nothing more than a container widget, that a stack widget that contains a container widget that holds the background. Then it has an align widget, even positional components are widgets in Flutter. So you have an align widget with an icon widget and so on. We're going to be doing this, and I also provided a little bit of code for you to copy. The rest of the code, you have to type it yourself. Why? Because I've noticed that people, when they follow this type of code labs, they just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, and at the end of the day, they finish the application, they didn't learn anything, and it was just like like the knowledge didn't stick. So by following these, hybrid approach where you copy a few things, some boilerplate stuff, but then you type the rest, you build your Flutter muscle, and that's how you learn. So let's continue. Great, I love that, Connor, Greg, David, you guys are rock stars. Continue pushing through. If you don't have to wait, you can even continue ahead if you feel the need. So let's continue. Let's proceed now to code the application. We're going to start building the application. So what I suggest, and what I suggest also in the code lab, is actually removing everything, like completely from scratch. Let's start from scratch, erase all the code, all the boilerplate code that is there, and then let's start coding the application from scratch. The first thing that it will be required from you in order to start a Flutter application is to actually import the library. The library that we're using is the material library. The material library gives you flexibility to do even like Android or iOS applications, as opposed to using like the Cupertino library, which is just for iOS. In this case, we're tackling all, let's say, all platforms, so we're going to be using the material. I'm only going to give you a few of lines of code for you to copy. So let's start by copying this chunk of code that you see here, which is the import statement and the main method. Let me copy that. I'm going to come back over here to DartPad, and then I'm going to paste it. So the first line is just importing the library. The second is a method, the main method. Just like in other programming languages, like in C# or whatnot, and even Java, like you have a main method. The main method is the most important method in the Flutter application because it bootstraps it. So all Flutter applications need to have one single main method. So make sure that you have that main method. Sorry about that. Now the next thing, after you have the main method, now we're gonna call the first method in the framework called runApp. RunApp is the first method in the framework that loads like the root widget. Remember that I said even the whole application is a widget. So the runApp method is the framework method that makes the first widget the root of the whole hierarchy that we're going to be building. So the first widget is called material app. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it right inside of the main method. And then you see here that there is a method called runApp. Material app is the first widget, which is the whole application. This is a property called debug show check mode banner. It's just like a sash that it shows in debug mode. And then home is a property that you have to attach inside of the root of the root widget. You have to attach the first page. In this case, we're going to be creating our first custom widget, which is going to be representing the splash page. You see, everybody will see like a red line underneath it. That means it hasn't been created yet. We're going to get there. We're going to be creating the first widget. So how do you create custom widgets? Because now I told you that everything is a widget, a button, a text, a label. The widget, the application itself is a widget. How do you create widgets in Flutter? The way that you create widgets in Flutter, and actually after we go through step number 4, which we just did actually, now let's proceed to step number 5. That's where we're going to be creating the first widget. So how do you create widgets in Flutter? In Flutter, you either create stateful widgets and stateless widgets. Stateful widgets are widgets that maintain state throughout multiple builds of the application. If, let's say, the application or the widget itself builds itself multiple times, it maintains that state while it rebuilds the widget. So it doesn't destroy the state. And then that state can persist across multiple builds. And then a stateless widget, it just paints the screen. One of the great things about Flutter is that it uses like a rendering engine, like a game rendering engine called Skia. And then everything that you see in Flutter is actually painted on the screen. So a stateless widget doesn't maintain any state. It just paints the widget on the screen, and then that's it. That's all it does. Stateful widgets maintain state. Stateless widgets don't. That's the difference. So now let's continue and create our first widget. In this case, we're going to be creating the widget that represents the splash page, and we're going to be calling it splash page. And its type stateless, like I just mentioned, is a widget that doesn't maintain any state. So let me just move this over to the side so I can see it better. Now let's go back to DartPad, and anywhere within the document. Remember, because DartPad is just one single page type of IDE, we can create separate files. The best practice would be creating a separate file for every page or every widget, and then you compartmentalize it like that. So the first thing that you would do outside of the main method, you start creating a class. Like for those of you who know object-oriented programming, Dart is just the same. A widget is just a class that inherits from stateless widget or stateful widget. So that's exactly what we'll do. So I'll create a class, I'll call it splash page, just to match like the page that we're creating, and then you make it extend stateless widget. Now, since you're creating a very custom widget, you have to override the widget's build method. The build method is the method called by the framework when it mounts your widget into the widget tree. Like the widget tree is nothing more than a hierarchy of widgets. And then every widget, when it gets mounted, it calls its build method. Inside of the build method is where you create all the widgets that compose your widget. So the first thing that you do is you decorate a method with the decorator called override, and then you create a method that returns just the widget type. You call it build because again, you have to call it build so Flutter framework calls your method and then mounts the widget and renders the widget. And then you provide a parameter called build context. Build context is this property that gets injected by the framework to the widget that you create, the custom widget, so that it's kind of like a reference, like a pointer to the location of the widget in the hierarchy. That way you can even traverse the widget tree up or down by just but following the context. So the context gets injected from the root, and then that way you can traverse the widget tree and you know where your widget is located pretty much. You could also get stuff from the context like the navigator capabilities. You can get inherited widgets. You can get like services that get injected at the top and so on. Like the context, if you're learning Flutter, you need to know the context. Last but not least, the thing that you need to do inside of the build method is just build your structure. So what you do is you return widgets. You return like other hierarchies or trees of widgets. We're going to be returning a stack. A stack is one of those widgets, you may have inferred it, that lays out its components or its children in a layered fashion, like one on top of each other, kind of like an offset. So you can get like a stack, and then you can see them from top to bottom. Like the bottommost item is like the first one in the stack, and then you can keep building, and then they show on top of it. So that's pretty much a stack. If you're this far, you already have the main method. You already have a very basic widget, just the splash page. It doesn't show anything. You can go ahead and hit run, and we still don't see anything. We're going to get to that in a minute. So now I am still in step 5. Now the next thing that I did after creating the custom widget is just give you like this constant property, this constant value that I want you to copy. So in Flutter, you can have like constant values like global. It's not good practice to keep like global variables like this, but for the sake of this tutorial, we're just gonna do it. So let's all copy that main theme color property. You can just put it all the way at the top. All that we're doing here is just holding this color so that we can use it throughout the application. That way we don't have to repeat this color. So this is how you create like colors in Flutter. It uses like the alpha channel, and then it provides like RGB values for it. But in this case, I created like using that like a hex value, and I'm calling it main theme color. So what do we do with that color, with that constant value that I have up there? Now we're going to use it so that we can continue creating our building our widget, our custom widget, and apply that color to it. So why don't we do that? Let's go back to the splash page widget. Inside of the stack, I'm actually right now at the bottom of, actually the middle of step 5, where I'm building the stack. So remember the widgets, the children of the stack will be laid out in a layered fashion, like stacked up. Perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna be creating adding the children property to the stack. Stack is one of those widgets that take more than one child, so hence the children property, and then you can add widgets inside of it. So if I go here to the stack, let me just give a little bit of space so you guys can see it. So inside of the stack, you populate the children property, and then you can add other widgets in it. The widget that we're going to be adding is a container. A container, for those of you who know like HTML, it's kind of like a div. It's like a container is just empty, but then it serves as a kind of like as a wrapper for other widgets. And containers only take one child. So if you see here, a container is very versatile. You'll see how versatile it is. So the container is just going to be inside of the stack, just occupying the whole stack, and we're going to apply a color, like a background color. So you guessed it, we're going to be using the constant property that we set up there that we called main theme color. So we just call it main theme color, and you set it to the container, which is the only child of the stack. After you do this, just hit run and then just take it for a spin. So right now you should be able to have just a plain background with that color that I set up. So right now you could say that you already have a custom widget. This widget just shows a background. That's all it does. So this container is the first child of the stack. It stretches and takes up the whole screen, and then it just applies a color to it. That's all there is. Continuing down the line, if you see the splash page, just a little bit further down, we're going to be adding our second widget to the stack. So remember that I mentioned earlier, even positional components like aligning, margin, padding, all those things are widgets. They may not render stuff, but they position other widgets, the widgets that they wrap. In this particular case, we're going to be using the align widget. The align widget only just positions the widget in certain alignments like center, top, bottom, left, right, whatever it wraps, whatever widget it contains, it positions it accordingly. So that's what the align widget is for. So we're going to be following, where I'm still in step number 5 for those of you who are following. So let's do that. So I'm just going to leave the container the way it is. I'm going to now add the align widget. So you do align. Actually, let me just do a little bit of enter so you can just see it up here. So the align widget, like I said, it takes a child. And then it has an alignment. So I'm going to say alignment. And then you can add the properties that it requires, like alignment. And then you can have like bottom center, bottom left, blah, blah, blah. Or I'm going to be doing center. So I'm going to be centering something inside of this align widget. Which widget? An icon widget. Remember, everything in Flutter is a widget, even icons. So now I'm going to be creating an icon widget. And then I'm going to just provide like an icon. The great thing about Flutter is that you can tap into the vast library of icons available by Google via the material library. If you go here to icons, here in the Google fonts, like all these icons are available to you in vector mode, not raster images, but like vector, very sharp, like SVG type, that you can use in your applications for free. So all these icons right here are available for free, already part of Flutter. Like it already comes applied to it. So here, even in DartPad, they're also available. So I'm going to be using one of those icons called like pool. I'm going to be applying a color. I'm going to say colors.white. And then I'm going to apply a size. I'm going to do like 80 pixels, something like that. If you see here, like it has like a bunch of lines around it, the way that the latest version of Flutter, or Flutter 2.8, they suggest creating like constants out of these widgets. So for example, here, all you can do is, let's say if your widget doesn't have like any variables or anything that changes, you can just do this like constant, and then like it just goes away. The constant widgets, what it does, like the benefit that it does, is that it enhances performance in the case that if this is a widget that is static and it needs to be reused throughout the application, Flutter is smart enough to even reuse that widget. And then that way it improves performance. But for example, for the sake of the tutorial, you can even omit it and it doesn't do anything. It just gives you a warning. But other than that, it should be fine. So now let's try to see how this align widget, what it does, like what does it show? So after I add the align widget, now you see that there is a widget aligned at the center of the screen. The align widget wraps the icon widget and then it aligns it at the center. Simple as that. Perfect. Am I going too fast? Is anybody up to speed? Is everybody good up to this point? Just wanted to make sure that everybody was following up, and everybody was cool with this. Perfect. I love the fact that okay. Great. Connor has a question. Does size take a unit, or does Flutter standardize display unit? Thank you very much. So what it does behind the scenes, it standardizes the units because multiple devices have, you see, like the different pixel ratios, like device pixel ratios. You apply, for example, like the size, like 80, but then it depends on the device that where it's rendered. Underneath the scenes, behind the scenes, it actually gets it gets rendered as the unit that is supported by that device. Let's say if you have a Retina display screen, so it actually double the size of that. If you have like a high end Android device, it would also use like the device pixel ratio applied to that. So yes, but the great thing is that you don't have to worry about that. That's taken care of for you. You just go ahead and say, okay, so I'm gonna apply 80 pixels to this, and then you will see that it will look fine across devices, regardless of their pixel density. Thank you very much for that question. Great. Yes. Yeah. The speed. Perfect. Awesome. Let's continue. So after this, now let's say I think we're good with that. Oh, the next thing is that we're going to be doing another align widget. So you see that the align widget aligns it at the center. You can continue adding things on the stack. Remember, the stack lays it one on top of each other. So first was the container, then the icon. Now we're going to be aligning something at the bottom of the stack, which is kind of like a progress indicator. Like a progress indicator, you can use like a circular progress indicator, or in this case, it's a linear progress indicator. So again, there's a lot of widgets at your disposal. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So it's good that you brush up on your widgets. Even though most of my applications, I use only the core widgets because they're very performant, a smaller memory footprint, and it makes your application much better, much simpler. You don't have to like import like a bunch of other separate libraries or components that are really bloated. So that's my recommendation to you. Let's proceed at the bottom of step 5. In step 5, we're going to be adding another align widget with a linear progress indicator. So let's try that. So I'm going to be doing align, just like I did before. And the same thing, now the alignment will be at the bottom center. That means it will be aligned all the way at the bottom by just saying alignment dot bottom center. And then as the child of this align widget will be a linear progress indicator. So you could do linear progress indicator. And then it takes at a minimum one parameter, which is just the value color. You can actually like change the stroke, like how thick it is or whatever, but I'm just only going to apply the value color, like the color that the progress indicator changes when it just moves. So I'm going to be adding a always, it's called always stopped animation. I don't know why they called it that. It's like a little weird. It's like always stopped animation. And then you have to make it's kind of like using generic. So you have to apply the type of that. The value color has to be type color. And then all you have to do here is just assign that color. So the color is colors.white. What I like about Dart, and in this particular case, the library, the Material UI library, is that you could do like on a color, you could do this with opacity, and you can just, instead of applying another like a hex value or whatever, or changing the value of the RGBA, here you can just say 0.5, and it will just grab a color and just make it 50% opaque. That's it. So I'm going to be saving this value. Well, actually, you don't have to save because this is DartPad. It gets saved automatically. Just hit run and let's see what it looks. So if you hit run after doing the next align, I'm gonna get to your question, Lisa. Thank you very much, guys. Keep dropping the questions. That's what I like. I like all the questions. Lisa says so. And always stopped animation is also a widget, right? Yes. Everything is a widget. Think about that as a widget. Even like a color, a border, all those things are widgets. When you use that mentality, like everything is a widget, yes, you're gonna get really far. So everything is a widget. So in this particular case, you can say that the value color is kind of like a widget. Let's keep it like that. Let's say everything is a widget. because some people get into the debate of like, okay, so is a class a widget? Is an HTTP call a widget? If you get into that debate, then you go like, oh wait, there's a fine, like fine print that not everything is a widget, but everything is a widget. Well, anyway, but you can say it's a widget, yes. So yes, now I apply that, and then you see at the bottom, you see like this, the progress indicator, like the linear progress indicator. You see that it's just running constantly. I just applied the white color so that you can just see a little bit of movement in there. But other than that, guys, we're done. This is it. This is the splash screen. That's how you do like a custom widget. In this particular case, we were tackling the splash page. So if I go down, you will see like here in the code lab how you create a splash screen, and that's it. That's what it was. So I hope you guys achieved all this way and you got this far. That means you've created your first custom widget. You know how to use DartPad. You can brag about your friends and colleagues and be like, look, you didn't know about this. Now you can. You don't have to install anything. You can even crack open DartPad and start playing with Flutter. If you have an idea, you can just open a browser tab, go to DartPad, and code it real quick. You can even copy that code and bring it to Visual Studio Code and run it. Let me show you how to do that. Actually, that's exactly the next step. What I'm going to do, I'm going to be grabbing like this piece of code that I have here. If I copy it all, and then I open, for example, Visual Studio Code, which I have it already here. Look, I'm just going to delete everything from my main DartPad, let's say in Visual Studio Code. And look what I have. I'm going to be running, let's say, the simulator. So if I open like the iOS simulator, for example, and I just drop the code in here, the same code that we coded just a minute ago. Let me try it again so that you guys can see it. Yeah, so I'm gonna be launching the simulator in a minute. So exactly the same thing that I told you. You can even code a whole application in DartPad. You just copy paste it, bring it into Visual Studio Code, and then that's it. All you have to do is just publish it. Other than it's no different. That's exactly why it's so cool to do DartPad, because you could do some prototyping, but it's actually legit code that you can bring into Visual Studio, and then you can create like your own applications. So I'm gonna open the iOS simulator one more time, and here it is. So look at this. So I have the iOS simulator, and all I have to do here because I have the whole application running right here, I can just say Flutter run, which is kind of like hitting run in DartPad, and all you will see here is just the application just being launched, and then that's what I like about that. So look, it's gonna start running. Does anybody have any questions while this runs? Ricky says, can you save anything in DartPad or directly to GitHub or something like that? Great question. You can. In DartPad, what it does is like it just keeps it in there for you, like cached, kind of like a session. It might be like a local storage, like it gets stored for you. I can close this and reopen it, and it will be in the same place. But if you want to save this as a gist, you can actually do that. So you have to go to GitHub, and you can create a gist, bring this code and put it there, and you can even share it with somebody. You can even embed it like on a web page, like chunks of code like this. You can embed it on a web page, by just sharing your code. Like you just code this, grab it, create a gist, and then you just have to give it like the ID of the gist in here, and then you can embed it like as an iframe on your web page, and you can have like tutorials, workshops like this and stuff like that. You can actually do that. Great question, Ricky. You can actually do that. So you will see now. It says could not build the application. Yeah. So I have to let me just fix this here. Sorry about that. I think I didn't clean it correctly earlier. But yeah, like if you here, like for example, you just save the code, and then now again, if you do here, like in Visual Studio Code, I'll say flutter.run, and then see, you're just gonna launch in the emulator, and you will see exactly the same application that we're building, but just being launched on the emulator. I also suggest doing it like let's say if you want to do like get a cheaper phone, you can do that. I definitely recommend testing your applications on a physical device, because it makes sense. Like at the end of the day, your users are going to be loading their applications on a physical device, on an actual device. So make sure that you always have a device handy to test your applications, not just like in the emulator, because at the end of the day, again, you have to deploy it on a physical device. So let me see if this. Yeah, I think it's just that like this. I think I probably have to update this project in here. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that the same code that is in DartPad, it should be able to load like on your physical device like that. Any other questions before we proceed to the next piece of the collab? And is everybody good again with the speed? Like I said, the explanations. I love the questions, guys. Keep bringing them. So after that, there you go. It loads it, and then that's it. Perfect. You see, like I can even continue here on Visual Studio Code, and it will be no different than doing it in DartPad. But again, to be with you guys, let's continue with DartPad. Now we can continue. After we do this, let's continue with the next piece. What we're going to be doing is creating a dummy landing page. You usually see that a splash screen is nothing more than an introductory page that just leads you to another one. So the splash page, it will just like spin for a few seconds and then is going to just navigate to another page. So you're going to be learning about navigation. You're going to be learning about creating another page and how to connect them together. So how are we going to do that? Now I'm on step 6 where we're creating a dummy landing page. Let's do that. So I'm going to be moving this over to the side. For those of you who are following along, I'm on step 6. So step 6 will involve creating a new page. A new page or a new widget, a new page widget is nothing more than just another class that extends either stateless widget or stateful widget. In our case, let's just create a class called list page, and we're going to make it extend stateless widget. You should be pros already by now because, again, creating just a custom widget is nothing more than creating a class that extends stateless widget and override the build method. That's all it takes. So you do override, make sure that you override the build method by returning a widget and injecting a build context. Just like we did before. I could have even copy pasted, but again, I learned by typing, I learned by coding it multiple times over and over so that it sticks, so that the knowledge sticks. Now we're going to be introducing another type of widget, which is the scaffold widget. The scaffold widget is just like the word says. It's a scaffold. It gives you like a boilerplate, like a kind of like a shell widget that allows you to create like the foundation for a full-blown page. Scaffolds give you the capability to adding like an app bar, a title bar, a bottom bar, a drawer, a floating button, a body. It gives you like a bunch of capabilities that just a regular widget doesn't give you. So if when you start from a scaffold, you get a lot already done. So let me show you how to do it. So the first thing, again, in the build method of your custom widget, you have to return a widget. In this case, a scaffold widget. I'm going to be returning a scaffold widget. And then the scaffold widget is one of those widgets that takes many components. In this case, it takes a body. Like the body meaning like the main thing that will cover the whole page. So we're going to apply the body property. We're going to be creating adding another widget to the body of the scaffold. We're going to be using a center widget. Center widget, kind of like the align widget. Center only does is just centers. I could have used before like the align widget with the alignment center. I could have replaced that by a center widget, but I just wanted to show you how versatile also the align widget is. So inside of the center widget, you could assume it only takes one child. So you can say child, and then let's add a text widget. Text widget, just like the word, is just text. Here I'm going to just be typing the word hello, paradise. And this is just a text widget that shows you a text in the middle. Now, how do I test this? If you're here in step number 6, if you scroll a little bit down, I've already completed this piece. Now let's go to step number 7. Step number 7, what we're going to be demonstrating here is how you do a transition from one page to the other, introducing a small delay. So for those of you following, I am on step number 7. Ricky, you say, can a widget take a child or children by default? Great question. And later I'm going to quiz you on that. So there are widgets that take a child. You can only take only one child. But that child could be a whole hierarchy of widgets. So behind that single child, like let's say center only takes one, that child could be a whole group of widgets. But to the center is only one. Now there are other widgets like the stack, the column, the row that take a children property. That means it takes more than one. But even those individual child widgets could be other hierarchies of widgets. Remember, think of widgets or building widgets, building UIs in Flutter has hierarchies, but one being like the root, and then only having one, and then that one could have like a contain like a whole other hierarchy underneath it. So you can have a widget. Yeah, it doesn't like it's not by default. So ones take a child, others take children, but inside one child you can add one that has children, and then it kind of looks like the first one that had children. So it's a little bit like that, but yeah, not like by default. But you will actually learn like some of them give you that property, some of them don't. So it's kind of like it gives it to you like that. But great question though. So now let's try to, in step number 7, we're going to simulate a delay on the splash screen. We're going to keep the splash screen for a few seconds, then navigate to the next page. Let's all go to step number 7. So in step number 7, I just created this list page. If you want to test it real quick, or you can do it, you can just hack it right here. You can go to the main app, like the root widget, and you can just say list page here. If you want to test like what it looks like the like what the list page looks like. But again, this is just temporary, so you can see what it looks like. If you hit run, you won't see the splash page. You will just see just a scaffold that says hello paradise with a center widget centering a text. That's all it does. Now let's bring it back. So I'm going to bring back the splash page. Let's go to the splash page. So the thing that we're learning here in step number 7 is the concept of futures. Those of you who know about like reactive programming or using like asynchronous programming in this particular case, maybe those of you are familiar with Angular or like the reactive library, like React.js, RxJS. Actually, yeah, but now that I mentioned React, Flutter actually drives a lot of their reactive approach from React and from other libraries like that. But what I wanted to get to is the future. Future is nothing more than an object that represents an operation that will execute in the future. So it's kind of like in observables in the RxJS library, it's something that you can hold on to so that then you can get back to it after the operation, let's say, executes. In this particular case, futures are used for that, for introducing a delay, to simulate an asynchronous operation, because Dart, just like programming languages like JavaScript, for example, they're single threaded. So in order to simulate like a kind of like asynchronous operations, you kind of have to leverage that single thread, and then you do kind of like those type of approaches. In this case, we're going to be using futures. So a future, again, the first thing that you do is just instantiate a future. But future, the class itself has some utility methods, very useful. In this case, it has one called delay. So I'm going to type here, I'm sorry, you go to the build method, sorry about that. So inside of the build method of your custom splash page widget, remember, it has to be inside of the build method. Why? Because it's going to be called by the framework, and then when the widget builds, you want that to be executed. So the first thing that will execute when the build method gets called is future.delayed. Delayed, what it does is it's going to introduce a small delay, and then you provide a callback to it. After the delay elapses, then it calls your callback, and then you can do anything in there. So what I'm going to be doing is introducing a constant duration. Duration, just an object that you pass, specify what your duration is. In this case, we're applying that duration to the delay. We're going to be saying seconds. So we're saying, let's apply 2 seconds, a duration of 2 seconds, and then attach a callback, whatever you want to call it. You can call it callback. You can call it like an anonymous method that then will be called by the future after the 2 seconds elapsed. Here I'm simulating like a network call. Imagine, let's say we're making an HTTP RESTful API call, and then the data has already arrived. Now I want to proceed to the next page. That's exactly what we're going to be doing. Thank you, Connor. Yes, exactly. It's promise. Yes, like a promise. So I applied the concept of observables, but yes, I love the fact that you know about promise. So promise is just like that, kind of like an operation that you can tack on like a dot then, and then you can tack on like an event that will execute after the promise gets either resolved in this particular case. So thank you very much. I love the fact that you guys are so savvy and understand and have a lot of breadth of knowledge on these. So I'm glad that you guys are there on that point. So yes, so the future, you apply the duration, then after the promise gets resolved, or in this particular case, the 2 seconds elapsed, now we're going to be performing an operation. What operation? navigating to the next page. So we're going to be tapping into the navigator. See, I didn't like import anything. I just typed like navigator, and the Flutter already gives me access to those things. Now, how do I access the navigator that is provided, injected to the application by the root, like by the framework through the root widget? The way to do it, remember what I mentioned earlier about the context, that you can traverse the widget tree and then fetch things like, inherited widgets, components, services, and whatnot. That's exactly how you do it. So check this out. You say navigator.off, you say context. Just by doing this, I'm traversing the widget tree and fetching the instance of navigator that is available by to Flutter, to your Flutter application, so that you can perform navigation between pages. So after you do that, now it's just a matter of pushing another screen. So if you do navigator.off context dot and then you say push, now we're going to be pushing another screen. The way to push another screen onto the navigator, imagine the navigator being also like a stack. In this particular case, a navigation stack. The stack goes like this. So you push another page, you can push pages in a stack fashion. You can pop them. You can pop them all the way to the end, and so forth. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be pushing one more screen at the top of the stack. But the way that you push it, it's not just pushing a widget, it's actually pushing a route. In this case, we're going to be using another widget called material page route. So we're going to be saying material page route, and then the material page route widget takes a builder. Builder is very similar to the build method of this widget. What builder does is saying, when I'm ready to push a route to the navigator stack, I'm going to be building a widget that you inject, that is being wrapped inside of this route. And then at the point where the route is invoked and is like active, then it renders that widget. So it builds that widget for you. So in this case, the builder takes the context as every widget, and then here I just say list page. What this is saying in a nutshell is saying, navigator, I'm going to be pushing a route. This route is wrapping the next page that we're navigating to, and then that's it. You apply the builder, which is that property. You apply a callback that takes the context, and then this callback needs to return a widget, the widget that is going to be displayed in front. So after you do this, let me just recap. You apply the future delay of 2 seconds. Then you tap into the navigator via the context, push a route, wrapping a page, and then your page will be pushed. So remember, you don't have to push anything. You don't have to save anything. All I have to do is just hit run, and then you will see now my page, how the splash screen waits 2 seconds, 1, 2, and then the next page gets pushed. That's it. Simple as that. So we just applied navigation. We learned about futures, and now you see how to create multiple pages, and then you navigate from one page to another. Does anybody have any questions? That is the end of the first collab. That's it. We're done with the first collab. So I'm glad that we made it all the way through here, and I hope that you guys had a lot of fun with the first collab. If you guys have any questions, please keep dropping them in the chat. I hope that you guys are, again, all the way up to here. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be copying all this code. I'll drop it here in Visual Studio just to show you that I can, load it right here on a regular device as well. So I'm going to be saving here. I do have to save. And then all I have to do here, of course, one of the hottest, pun intended, one of the hottest features in Flutter is the hot reload. Whenever you make a change, all you have to do is press R, and then the changes get reflected on your emulator, and you saw how quick it was. So if I just do Shift R, that is a full reload, starting all the way from the beginning and clearing every state, and then you see that, and then you show that. If you make any changes and then you save and just hit R, that is then the hot reload, and then you see immediately the change being reflected on the application. Awesome. So that's one of the things that I love the most about Flutter, like the hot reload, full reload, and full restart when you just want to wipe everything and start all over again. Perfect. So now you see that's the splash screen, and then we go to the next page. Now we're going to be delving into this page right here, the list page. Perfect. Thumbs up on the chat if everybody's good. If you're all the way up to here. Again, just wanted to recap on the first collab. If you feel like you want to do this on your own, again, also feel free to do this. Grab the links, share it with your friends. You can do that. See, remember that was the thing that I showed up here, and then I showed the wrap up. So um, again, congrats again to making it all the way this far. You can share this link with your friends, colleagues, if they want to play with this. Have them crack open DartPad, and then you can like follow along and complete this. The complete code, of course, all of this. I don't want you to cheat. I wanted you to code it yourself, but at least I provided all the code at the end as well, just in case you fell behind. Thank you, everybody. Thumbs up. But yes, I just provided the complete code at the end. But again, like I mentioned, the way to learn Flutter is building, building, building. Those are the three rules of learning Flutter: build, build, build. All the complete code is at the end if you fell behind. And then now, if you want to pick it up with me, you just joined. Welcome. You can grab this piece of code, and then now we're going to proceed to the next code lab. So like I mentioned, all you have to do is just go here on the URL and just type the number 2 after CR1-2, or you can copy it. I'm going to paste it right here in the chat again, just in case you want to see it. So now code lab number 2, it's a little bit more involved. We're going to be doing now, and let's go all the way to step number 1, where we're going to be doing this list page. We're going to be doing a little bit more complex stuff, like more custom widgets, card widgets. We're going to be applying more stack strategies, importing network images and whatnot. Let's see how far we get on this code lab. But again, I encourage you to continue pursuing some of these workshops. If you want to find more workshops, if you feel like very adventurous and you want to do that, you can go to my portfolio, romanjustcodes.web.app. And if you go to the workshops here, if you go to the workshops, I have multiple workshops, including this one, which is right here. And I have other advanced workshops that you can follow. I'm going to be dropping this link in there also if you want to, again, use it for your own education. If you want to continue you want to try something more advanced, feel free to do so. You want something more simpler, you can try other ones. You can follow that. But for tonight, we're going to be focusing, like I mentioned, on lab number 2 of the Coding Roulette edition. Perfect. So far, so good. Everybody's good. Now let's proceed with the next one. So we just left off exactly where we were, which is just with the hello paradise, just this empty thing in here. And now what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to let you continue on DartPad. I'm going to continue in Visual Studio Code. Why? Because I want to do that thing I told you. I'm going to be doing the coding roulette so that you can try with your friends, with your colleagues, so that you can see how fun it is to actually share code with people. So the way that you do it is you can install this plugin in Visual Studio Code. The way that you apply plugins is with this icon right here. You can apply an extension. So if you find the 5th icon in Visual Studio Code, if you're doing DartPad, again, continue doing DartPad. This is just me giving you another tip on other stuff. So if you go to the extensions and you find Lifeshare, Lifeshare is this extension that allows people to join your session from a web page. You don't have to even you can do it from Visual Studio, and then you can join my session. But for you guys, I want you to join. If you feel, if you want to do it, it's optional. You can join my session from another web page. You open up another page, I'm going to give you a link, and then you're going to join my session. And then you can see me coding. So this is how you do it. After you install Lifeshare, you just click here on the Lifeshare button, and then it creates a collaboration session. That collaboration session gives you a link. I have the link already. I'm going to be dropping it in the chat just in case you guys want to try it. And the way that you do it is you go to a browser, you open up another tab, and then you drop the link that I'm about to drop. When you drop the link, like this, it gives you like the Lifeshare, and then you will get a prompt here that says continue as anonymous. You click here where it says continue as anonymous. You put your name. Let's say I'm going to put my middle name, Ernesto. Let's say I'm going to join as Ernesto. And then if I hit enter, you will see that now from a browser tab, I am able to join my live share session, my coding session right here, and then I see it right here. Now I can see the same code that I am typing, and now I can even give you like read write capabilities so you can code with me if you want to. So those of you who feel like you want to code with me, you want to follow along, and you can do your code labs, you can do your DartPad, but if you want to code with me, join the session that I'm about to drop, and then we can do it. Or if you just want to watch, and you can even copy paste the code that I have in there, you can do so. So let me copy the code. I'm just gonna move this over. I can even just close it. So I'm just gonna grab the session again. I just copy this session. Those of you who want to join my collaborative session can click on the link that I just dropped. It says like prod live share. It's a free plugin. You just have to have Visual Studio, install that session, and I will see people just joining my session here. You can look at me coding. You can copy paste the code from there. If now, let's say some of you would like to join and want to code along with me, you can do so as well. All I have to do is just see you in the list of participants. See Ricky already, took the courage. Lisa as well. I see a lot of people joining. And then everybody right now is in read-only mode. But let's say I pick one of you guys, I make your read write, and then you can help me continue with the collab. How does that sound? I see already 3 people. I said it's optional. You don't have to do it. But I would love for the 3 people who joined to try to help me do this collaborative session. How does that sound? But if you guys are not up for it, that's totally fine. But let's just give it a shot. Ricky, would you like to help me code in my session? Let me show you how it works. So I'm going to open up, let's say, my code. Let's say I'm in session number 1. I'm in step number 1 of Codelab number 2, right? And then we're going to be creating the list page. Let's say I'm going to have you type this piece of the code right here. So what I'm going to be doing, Ricky, oh, perfect. I'm going to select you, and then I'm going to say, I right click here. Oh, let me see. It says block. It says block participant. I don't know. I think you're still. Are you able to see the session? Because for some reason it's not allowing me to make you read right. Let me know. Can you try? Can you try? Can you try joining again, Ricky? I'm gonna try Lisa, for example. Because look, when I click here on Lisa, I should have the make read write uh, option. For you, for some reason, I don't see it. You see, like I select that, and then I don't see that. Jason, let me see Jason. Jason has it. So I'm wondering why, Ricky, for you, I don't have it. So let me try Lisa just for a minute. And then I'm going to make Lisa read write. So by making you read write, Lisa now with me. So now you have full control of my Visual Studio Code. Again, I've tried it before. It goes good. It's not that bad. So look, Lisa, I'm going to just squeeze this over here, and I'm going to have you try the first piece of the code, which is coding the scaffold of the list page. So I'm going to put you exactly where we need to be. So if you see Lisa right here, we're in the list page. So what Lisa is going to be doing, she's going to be adding a background color to the list page. Remember, the list page is that custom widget that we created, where we just right now we have like we have the center widget, a center widget with just a label. You see right here it says hello paradise. So what Lisa's going to do, she's going to apply a background color to the scaffold. Thank you, Lisa. So she's going to be applying a background color, and she's going to be using the main theme color. That's it. So just keep it right there, Lisa. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to save. And if you see now, when I do reload, boom, Lisa just apply a background color to the scaffold. And then that's how you start doing it. Let's continue down the line. So the next thing that I would want you to do, Lisa, is set up the app bar. So now you're going to be coding the app bar, which is another type of widget inside of the scaffold. I'm going to be just putting right here. So remember that I mentioned the scaffold is one of those versatile widgets that gives you that like a shell for a full-blown page. So scaffold gives you bottom bar, floating action buttons, app bar. The app bar is the title bar up there. So what the app bar does just is another widget that gives you, like, you can apply a background color, you can apply an icon theme, Elevation means like the shadow that you see on the app bar. I don't want any shadow. I kind of like it like transparent. I want it like very very cool, very slick looking. And that's exactly why I do it like that. So I love that Lisa's just powering right through it, and she's creating an app bar with a transparent background because I want it to blend with the scaffold. The icon theme gives you the colors that you apply to the icons on the app bar. The elevation 0 means it has a shadow. It has no shadow. I'm sorry. Lisa, can you go now to the next one and add a title icon to this app bar? So the app bar allows you to add icons like a title. A title could be like like you've seen it in the other apps, like a label. But I like to apply other things. Remember, everything in Flutter is a widget. You can add any type of widget in a title. In this case, Lisa added an icon, which is the same icon pool, and she made it white. Now let me save. Stay right there, Lisa, and then I'm gonna refresh and see what we got. So you see what Lisa just did, she added an icon on top here as part of the title, and that gives you that. Like other people add like labels. I'm like, I like to push the envelope and make some things like very unique. So what Lisa did, she added an icon. Very cool. Now let's add other actions to the app bar. So Lisa, can you help me out now and add actions to the app bar? App bar not only takes a title, but there's another property called actions. So actions takes an array of widgets. It's kind of like situated, located on at the right hand side of the app bar, and then it gives you kind of like a menu. So you can even create like a drop down menu in there. In our case, we just want to add a container widget with some margin around it and another icon. Like let's just simulate that we want to add like a notification icon in there. So what Lisa's doing, she's creating a notification icon that is just going to be placed at the right hand side of the title of the app bar. She's adding a color white, and she's using that icon available from the material icons. So thank you, Lisa. Let me just refresh. Now we will see what it looks like. What you did. Now you see that there is an icon. Very simple. She just added an icon as part of the actions of the app bar. If we keep scrolling down, and then now we see the app bar is all set. So I'm gonna drop you from here, Lisa. Thank you so much for helping out. I'm gonna make you back read only. Let's try Ricky. You want to try again? Okay. For some reason, I still see that you're not showing. You see, it doesn't give you that. I don't know. I didn't block you, so I don't know what's wrong with you, Ricky. Like, it's not showing me. Can you type? Oh, there you go. Okay, so go ahead. Okay, so I think is that okay, that's kind of weird. Like maybe there's a bug in the Lifeshare because you should have been read only. But why don't you help me out with the next? I got it. You have the power. That's right. Why don't you help me out now in populating the scaffold list view? So now that you do have the power, please let's go to the body of the scaffold. What we want to do is now create the whole container. I think what we're going to be doing is this piece right here. Let me show you. So what we're going to be doing is this white container, like the main body, you're going to be tackling that piece now. So let's go back to the step number 5, where now Ricky's going to be adding the main body as a container. Remember we mentioned that container, you're going to be replacing like this center widget right here. So the container is very versatile because it's not just like a div in HTML, but it gives you other capabilities. You have not only wraps other containers, but you can use it for creating like borders, rounded edges. You can add like background images. You can do a lot of things with a container. So what Ricky's doing, what you guys are seeing, is that he's creating a container. He's using a special property of a container widget, which is called a decoration. The decoration then allows you to then add things like border, gradients, background images. You see how cool is a container? Like you can add all these things to a container. And just one single widget allows you to do all these things: borders, background images. Like I see, like you can apply a color and stuff like that. So what he's just wrapping up now, adding a border radius that only applies at the top left and the top right. So border radius is just that property that gives you that you can add rounded edges to your containers. So Ricky's done. Now I'm going to save it. Stay right there, Ricky. You're going to continue. Let me just save, and then I'm going to refresh, and boom, there it is. Ricky just added a container, a white container that covers the whole body, and he has those, wrapping, like those rounded edges at the top left and top right. So see, we're just cranking along. Tell me, tell me if this productivity. Like, you see how fast we've gone, and you guys have already done it, and of course you guys are typing it for me. So it's a win-win situation. So I like this. So let's continue. So Ricky, can you do now? I'm gonna go to the next step, which is step 6. We're gonna be doing the list view. This is one of the most important widgets in the whole Flutter because it's not only a container that provides scrolling capabilities, you can add other widgets in it, and then you can make that effect of like scrolling. List view allows you to do that. So now what we're going to be doing is I can do this piece for you, like just copying a few things that we need as part of that, like some like initial setup. So what we're going to be doing is creating a model. So remember, we're going to be populating the list of widgets, and these widgets require some data. So we're going to simulate that data by creating podos. Podos, like some of you are like maybe come from the C#. I've heard the term like pocos, like or pojos from Java, plain old Dart objects. That's what they call a podo. So you can create a class that has a bunch of properties, and it's just going to be a container for data. So it's going to be a vessel for data. So we're going to be holding that data in there, and we're just going to inject it into the application and just render it. So I'm just going to copy paste. All of you guys also have it. So I'm just going to copy this class. I'm going to paste it anywhere down here. So I'm just going to paste this class. And you see is nothing more than just a simple, just a class that has, properties called like image path, name, description, price, location, rating, stuff like that. Because I don't have installed here in this particular version of this project, I don't have the nullability, which is the null safety. I have to remove these pieces right here. But for those of you using DartPad, please continue like so, because a null safety, which is something new that was introduced in Flutter after 2.0, is the ability for you to create properties that may have a null value. That is what's called null safety. So if your property, you know that it may have a null value assigned to it, then you add the question mark. That is what gives it nullable property. You can make it like a nullable property like that. So by you setting it like that, that's it. We're just going to create a property, a class called attraction. It's going to be holding all that data. I also have some sample data for you to load, which I'm just going to also copy paste. Is nothing more than just me populating all those values. You can even go all the way up here. You can just drop it anywhere. So I'm just saving you a tons of time. I'm just copying, pasting a bunch of sample hard-coded data for you to populate like these widgets, right? So with that in place, with all the podo objects and the sample data assigned, now let's go to step number 7, which is now adding the Listview widget and populating it with data. So perfect. So Ricky, you're still there. Can you now help me out? And let's go to start creating now the part that will hold our list. So let's go to the list page so you can scroll the way down. Yes. So we're there in the list page. I can shrink this for you. And then make sure that you go here inside of this container. So we have to be inside of the container. Remember that white container with the rounded edges. Now we're going to be adding something in there. Containers, like some of you asked in the previously, containers take only one child. But as a child of that container, you can add a column. A column is a widget that takes more than one item. So that's why it has a children property. So you see that now he's adding, Ricky's adding a column, and then he's aligning all the widgets cross-axis alignment, meaning horizontally wise, like width-wise, we're going to make them stretch. That's why the cross-axis alignment of stretch makes the column stretch inside of the container. And then children is nothing more than just an array that we're going to be adding all our widgets in. Let's continue. So the first widget that you're going to be adding to the column is an expanded widget. An expanded widget, for those of you familiar with HTML5 and CSS3, you guys have maybe are familiar with maybe the Flexbox model. The Flexbox model are those those components in HTML that allow you to give flexibility to your widgets so that they could take like either the whole space or like a fractional space of the parent. Expanded, what it does, it takes most of the space of the column. In this particular case, column is the parent, so an expanded widget takes up the most of the space. If you add other siblings, other widgets, expanded will still contain the most of the stuff, and then all the siblings. Perfect. So you're continuing down the line. So we're going to be adding the list view. The list view widget in Flutter is again one of those widgets that give you scrolling capabilities, and you can add multiple widgets in it. Listview Builder is a utility method part of the list view that gives you virtualization of its rows. What does that mean? Whatever you see in the viewport, let's say you can have 1,000 items within this list view. If you just do list view children and you add all the children to a list view, they will still be rendered, even the ones that you're not seeing. But when you apply the listview.builder, you actually apply virtualization. Only the items that are in the viewport are rendered. The other items are not rendered. As you scroll, the Flutter framework renders them as they become visible. Talk about optimization. So that's why I like the Listview Builder to do that. So the Listview Builder takes a couple of properties. One is the item builder, which is the callback that gets executed per item in the list. Like you have to give it an array of items, of course. And the item builder gets executed for every item that you have in your list. What we're going to be doing here, what Rick is doing, and Rick, let me help you, Ricky, let me help you just a little bit on this. We're missing the item count. Item count is the amount of items that your list will have. That's what the Listview Builder uses to do that virtualization, the optimization of the rows. So the item count is using the attraction list. Remember that list that I created above, and then I just say length. And then that means I'm saying these are the items that I want you to optimize on. I give you 1,000 items, but only render the ones that are in the viewport. Here, exactly, thank you. I just removed that exclamation because I don't have the null safety applied here. And then that's it. So I'm going to be saving whatever we have so far. Remember, the Listview Builder is a type of list view that optimizes the way that it renders its items. And then that's why you just provide the item count in the item builder. The item builder is just a callback method that gets executed per item. Now, if I just rebuild and I just do R right here, look at then what Ricky did. He just already added one list view. You can see even like that spring functionality, and then all the rows, now they're start rendering. Perfect, awesome. Ricky, thank you so much for helping out. I think you're gonna stay in there because you have God privileges. So let's see, Jason, would you like to help us out? If you're up for it, like, can I bring you up and then you want to help out with the next thing? Perfect. So I'll bring Jason. I'll make you read write, and then now you're gonna help out with the next piece of the creating these widgets, which is actually creating the attraction card. Card widgets, you can go to town. You can do your heart's content. The great thing about Flutter is that you can paint every widget on the screen. Here, instead of using like a library or like another third-party component, we can create our own cards, our own components. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. So now get ready to create your own custom widget that we're going to be calling it attraction card. The attraction card will be a custom widget that will represent this thing right here, like one card. So if you want to do it like all the way here at the bottom, you can feel free to do so. I'm going to put you right there. And then where you're going to be coding is this custom widget, the attraction card widget. So the attraction card widget, again, is just another custom widget. It's a class that extends stateless widget. And like I mentioned before, you have to override the build method, and then you build your structure inside of that build method. So if you guys can see, Jason is already overriding the build method, returning a widget out of it, and then he's going to start building that structure. And the way that I do it, is like, whenever I create all these widgets and I create my structures, my hierarchies, I like to make it very decoupled, very very broken down into multiple widgets. That's the term that they use called widget composition. So the first thing that you're doing is returning a container out of the build method, and we need to populate data into this widget. That's exactly why we're creating an attraction model. Like this model will be injected into the card so that it hydrates this widget with data. The data is then what will bring this widget to life. Yes, and now you're creating the parameter, you're creating a constructor, and then you're passing that model into the constructor. We don't need this because of the lack of the null safety, but you can continue immediately. You can go back now and replace that text widget that we created up there and replace it now with our newly created attraction card. So now you see the list view, when it renders, is going to be rendering an attraction card for every row that it has. Perfect. So now that Jason did that, now let's go back down and continue. So now the first thing that we'll do, remember the container, we're going to be basing our structure using the container as the foundation. The container is going to have like 300 pixels as the height. So I want all my widgets to have 300 pixels. We're going to start like building that stuff right there. Inside of a container, then remember container takes only one child. Now we're going to be adding a stack widget. So a stack widget, we're going to be laying things in a stack fashion. Continue down the line, Jason, you're doing great. So as the children of the stack takes children, we're going to be adding a column. So look, we are building this structure. Look, so if you look at it right there, it's a column. So it's a column because there's one on top, one item on top, and then one item at the bottom. If you even see the schematics, you see that we will follow it to the T. So now after Jason did the column and he added two containers, one container will represent the top part and the other container will represent the bottom part. The top part will be the image. The bottom part will be like the data that we'll have on this, on this card like this, if you see it like this. So now the top part, because we made it 300 pixels, we can safely say that the top could be 150. So that's exactly what Jason is doing. And now remember, he's applying those cool things that you can apply to a container. This case, he's trying to add a background image to that container, to the top part. So he's using the box decoration widget. You misspelled it, but you can go back to it. That's okay. So it's a box decoration, and then box decoration has a property called image. And then image has a decoration image. Then the decoration image is what sets that background image to that container. And then for the first time, we're going to be pulling some of those images from the coming from the network, and then that is yet another widget called network image. You see, Jason, he's applying already the network image to that container, which is 150 pixels. Now what he will do is apply a fit to that image. When you apply a fit, you actually see how the image actually gets rendered within that container. In this case, he's applying a fit of cover. By doing this, and Jason, hold it right there. I'm gonna save, reload, and we're gonna see what we can see right here. You see that now we start seeing stuff. So now we see a background image coming from the cloud, rendered as the background of that container. Now we're starting seeing things. I love the progress that we're making. So let's continue, Jason. So let's continue to the next step. For those of you who are following up, we are on step 9. In step 9, we're going to be building the bottom piece of that widget, which is containing all that information that is cool. Like we're going to be adding like a text widget, like all that information that will hydrate this widget with data. So now we're going to be working on the bottom container. So you see, Jason, he worked on the top container. Now we're going to be working on the bottom container. The bottom container will also make it 150 pixels because we kind of want to distribute the space, the 300 pixels that we've devoted for that card. 100 pixels on the top, 100 pixels at the bottom. So he's adding 100 pixels for the bottom and adding padding to that container. You remember the container, like I told you, is very versatile, because those are the type of containers that you can use to add like padding, margin, etc. So he's adding 20 pixels of padding all around. Now he's adding as the child of that container. For those of you paying attention, there are containers that are widgets that take one child or widgets that take children. So the container takes one child, but a row is one of those widgets that take children. So you can add more than one item to it. So now Jason is adding a row. Again, it just lays out the children, the items in a horizontal fashion, and then that way he's just adding now the children. So we're going to be adding to that row. You see, we keep building that structure inside of that row. Now we're going to add two columns. So one column for the left hand side, one column for the right hand side. So you continue looking at the way that this is structured right here, this schematics, and you immediately see that there is a row with two columns. One column will be for some of the text on the left. One column will be for some of the text on the right. So Jason is making great progress. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. So now after you do the two columns, now let's go and focus on the first column, on the column on the left, which is this piece right here. So now, Jason, you can go to the top one exactly, and then you start adding like some. So we're going to be adding the text label, and then you're going to consume that model that we injected, the attraction model, and then you consume the name. Thank you. Now you already know, because we don't have null safety. You can just use it normally. After you apply the name to that, now you can apply styles to that text widget. And the way to apply the styles to that text widget is actually by adding another type of widget called like a text style, or like a property of that widget, which is called text style. And then you can add colors, font size, how bold it is, all by applying that style. And then you see that you're adding, we're going to be adding now a color. We're going to put like 14 pixels of font size, and bold, we make it like the font way of bold. Perfect. Yeah, perfect. And then all you do after you apply the font weight bold, you can immediately go now to the next widget, which is going to be a row, because we're going to be simulating this. We're going to be adding like another row. We're going to be adding like a pin drop, like a little bit of a pin drop, and then a label. If you want to lay out things horizontally, remember, you always have to continuously adding widgets of that sort, like a row or a column, etc. So after, Jason will do now the row, and he's going to be adding an icon, like an icon widget with a pin drop. And then he will make it like gray with 0.7 opacity with a size of 12, because we want to make it like kind of small, right? Perfect. So now you're adding 0.7 of opacity and a size of 12. And then I'm gonna let you just do the next one, and then I'll take over after that. So I don't want to abuse of your good nature of you typing it all. Let's continue collaborating. Yes. After this, then we're gonna wrap up, because we're almost about to hit the time. Jason is just gonna add the last piece, which is we're gonna be adding like a little bit of spacing, which is right here underneath it. Are you still there, Jason? Just add like the size box. Size box is yet another widget that doesn't render anything, and you can use it like for spacing purposes. You can add like just empty space by just adding a sized box, and then you can add like width or height with that widget. So now you just do like width 5, and then after that you can do like a text widget that we're going to be populating now the location information. And again, what I love about how productive Flutter makes you is that you're cranking all these widgets, and you can do like the hot reload, and you can start seeing all these things like immediately popping up on your screen. So after this, Jason will be done. I'll bring you back to read only, and then again, like I said, you want to continue with this application, please continue going on your own, continue at home, follow those workshops that I provided in the link, and then you can go to town and continue working on this. So after Jason applies the font way of bold, thank you so much, Jason. You did a lot. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring you back to read only. Appreciate the help again. Now I'm going to save, and now let's see what it looks. So after what he did, I just refresh. You see like there's like the widget is showing in there and whatnot. Let me just save it right here. I'll save it all. Let me just reload. Reload it again. And you see that the text is showing like on top of that because of the stack. You see that the stack has a container and then it has another container. I think we missed to add a column, so that was the missing piece. So the stack, let's grab these two containers and then let's add them to a column. So because we want the column to be the bottommost widget in here, so I'll add a column, and then the column has children, and then now we add those two. So the column is the like the root of the bottommost item in that widget. Now that I save and reload, now you see the two pieces. So the top piece, which is the image, and now the bottom piece that is the rest of the content. Again, we can continue here, and we can even go like even past the time, but I want to be conscious of your time. I wanted just to let you know that yes, Jason, of course, you should see me with all the other mistakes that I do. But no, you did great. You did amazing. I love Lisa, Ricky, Jason. Thank you so much for joining, and you helped me a lot. You actually made me rest my fingers because I was using a lot my voice. So thank you so much. Now I'm gonna stop it right here. Again, like I said, I'm gonna let you continue on your own. Please continue all the way to the end. Like I said, you can go also try, for example, like code lab number 3, which is actually implementing the bottom bar. There we discuss more about stateful widgets, which are key in Flutter. And if you do code lab number 4, you can do the landing page where it has like a little bit of a search button, and now you can implement more like more stacks and other ways on how to lay your widgets. So I definitely encourage you to continue with the rest of the code labs. Let's wrap up now the presentation, and after this, then we should be good. But again, like I said, I'm gonna stop the live share. Uh, Again, feel free to use the live share. The live share extension, so you can use it with your friends and whatnot. So I totally encourage you to do that. Let's get back to the presentation so that we can just wrap up. So now just to wrap this up, again, I just wanted to make just one last thing. Thank you again for joining the session. Now we just want to do one last Slido engaging session where I'm gonna be kind of quizzing you on what you guys just did in the remaining. Thank you, Lisa, again. Yeah, you were amazing. Thank you so much. So for those of you who are still remaining and you just want to join this session, let's just do one last Slido to see what you guys are up to, what you guys learned during the sessions that we just did. So please join us slido.com with the code 491853. And now let's see what you learned from what we did in Flutter. Let's see how much you captured, let's say. So let's start with the first one. So those of you who just joined, in Slido.com, maybe I'll just give you a few seconds. I see already a few people. That's okay. Again, like I said, this is totally optional. But let's just play along. So what is the most important method in a Flutter app? Remember, I mentioned it right at the beginning. I said what was the most important method in a Flutter app. Some of you guys say main method. There's run app or build method. There are 3 methods. One is the most important in the Flutter app as a whole. So which one is it? Some people are saying the main method. Correct. The main method is the most important method in the app, in the whole app. Second one, what is the most important method in a Flutter widget? So you see, it's a trick question. First was, what is the most important method in a Flutter widget? Now, what is the most important? First, it was what is the most important method in a Flutter app? Now, what is the most important method in a Flutter widget? So now let's see if you guys remember. Some of you saying build method. I see that you guys are definitely, grasping. You see, by you building and playing with this, you kind of grasp that idea. Build method is the most important method on a Flutter widget because it gets called by the framework, and that is what mounts the widget in the widget tree when it calls the build method. Which of the following widgets takes more than one child or has the children property? Container, stack, or align? Only one of these 3 widgets has a children property. Which one of these has the children property? It takes more than one child. Don't get confused. It is the one that has the children property. Not the one that you can start building like a hierarchy underneath it, but which one has the children property? Let's see. People are saying container. People are saying stack. The correct answer is stack. Container, I'm not going to say, but stack has a children property. That's what it is. Now, next one. Which of the following widgets aligns its children one on top of each other in a layered fashion? Think of it as a layer, like like in Photoshop when you have layers, or like like a pancake. Oh, they get like stacked up. I think I already said it, but on top of each other. Which one is it? So I think I already said it. It's a stack. I said like pancakes, like stacked up. I already said it. So a stack aligns its widgets on top of each other in a layered fashion. Now, which of the widgets aligns its children vertically? We're talking about vertically up and down. Which one does it in a vertical fashion? Which one of these three widgets does it? Okay, I think I already said it when I said column. When I went like this, of course. So a column aligns its widget vertically. You guys did it already. Which widget you can use to add margin to a child widget? I think I mentioned it. I don't think we got to it, but I think I mentioned it. Which of these three widgets is a very versatile widget that you can use to add margin to it? Let's say you wrap this widget inside of it and then you apply a margin to it. Which one of it? Some people are saying margin, container, constraint widget. The correct one is container. I mentioned that the container has padding. It also has margin. Margin widget doesn't exist. The constraint widget doesn't exist either. So that was a trick question. And now for the win. Everything in Flutter is a widget. True or false? I think I mentioned it a couple of times. I don't know if I stressed it enough, but everything in Flutter is a widget. That's exactly what it is. So congrats. This was not a competition, but Ricky, you got them all. You got most of them. So there you go. So 7 of 9. So thank you guys for participating. You guys were amazing. These are again my links. I try to always have these type of events where we collaborate. We make it very engaging, very collaborative. It's not just like me sitting here talking and you guys bored, falling asleep on the other side. So that's exactly why we make it very engaging, very make you part of the process. Please follow me on YouTube. Stay tuned for my next streaming on Twitch. You can check out my portfolio site, check out those workshops, and please follow me on Twitter at the handle @DearCoders. Thank you so much, guys. I had so much fun. I love the fact that you guys participated, brought your questions, brought your enthusiasm, and helped me, of course. Connor, thank you, Ricky, thank you, Lisa, and of course, Greg and all of you guys. You guys, made it very special for me to be here. Patrick, Greg, again, like I said, I'm ready for you guys whenever you want me to come back. So I'm done. I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna stop sharing. Again, just if you guys have any questions, let me know.